one. This season has just been atrocious for the referees, right? I mean, the refs have been just so inconsistent, calling fouls, giving technicals, everything, right? It's been a very bad look for the NBA, and a lot of people are really complaining. It's not just the Lakers. Now, obviously, this is a Laker channel, so I'm going to focus and address primarily on the Lakers, but just in general this season, we have seen some atrocious play calling, some atrocious fouls, technicals, right? Like Luka got a technical for talking to one of his players. Jason Tatum got a technical for clapping his hands and talking to himself, right? Like the refs just get extremely carried away, and then they get upset that the players are upset at them, and it's like, well, you're not doing your job. And the referees is like the only profession I've ever seen where you can be terrible at your job and there is zero repercussions. And as long as there aren't repercussions for these referees, then why do they care? It's going to continue to be bad. And you have fans, you have organizations, you have players, you have everybody speaking out and talking about how terrible the refs are and continue to be. And the NBA, as far as we know, haven't seemed to make any headway or any changes to try to correct this in any way. I'm not saying you have to fine them and, take away their pay or whatever, but there needs to be something, whether it's, you don't get to ref the next handful of games, or, if you miss so many calls or you do so many things, then that means you're just out of the league, right? Like, we need to start filtering and getting better referees. And you see so many refs that it's almost like they believe the fans are there for them. And it's like, dude, like, you could not even be on the court. Like, nobody knows who you are. No one cares how you feel. Like, this is an emotional game, and they've taken a lot of the emotion out of it. I mean, you see players, they can't even celebrate. They can't even react, right? I do understand, like, the bench thing. You don't want guys coming off the bench and stuff like that. Okay, fine. But you can't just take away these competitive drives that these players have and try to penalize them for being excited or being in the moment and celebrating and, acting on emotion when it's an emotional game, right? Like, these guys want to win. They want to play well. If they make a bad play, they're disappointed in themselves, like Tatum was. Like, Tatum wasn't complaining about a caller. He was upset with himself for the previous play. But yet the refs felt like it was on them to penalize Tatum. Luka is sitting there talking to his player, trying to correct his player, and the refs felt like it was on them. Like, the refs need to, or set up a system or something, right? Like the NFL, where like the NFL, like they have somebody reviewing things on do the same thing, where like if you missed a call or something, there's some type of review, or if it's a major call, or give these guys more, reviewable plays, right? Like, give them more challenges. Like, the whole challenge system was a great system, but whether you win or lose, it's almost irrelevant at this point, right? Because it's like there's so many bad calls. Like, there should be the NBA needs to put something in structure to minimize the human error. I understand that the referees are human. I understand that they're trying to go off of the eye test. I understand that players are very creative and smart, right? Like, Kobe has like a famous interview where he talked about, like, one of the big things I learned when I got into the league is where are the refs positioned? Like, where are their set positions? Because based on that, I was able to get away with stuff. I could, foul this guy here because I know the ref can't see it, or I could do this here, right? Like, players do that. Players know, okay, the ref is over here. They can't see the play here. There's no one over here. So if I get this little tic-tac foul, like, nobody's going to notice. Nobody's going to see it. And that's also why you see players that are continuing to flop and just be over dramatic, right? Like, there was a huge flopping issue with this league, but it's because your refs don't call anything, right? Like LeBron, Dwayne Wade, I believe it was, said, like, if you look at LeBron's early career, like, he never flopped, he never did any of that stuff. He was fine. And then he used to get criticized for flopping, but he was like, LeBron realized that if I don't sell it, they're not going to call a foul. Russell Westbrook and LeBron James, especially LeBron James, cannot get a foul to save his life, like, ever. Like, it's insane to me, right? And especially him being a superstar, being the face of the league, being arguably the greatest player ever. Like, he's like the one superstar I've never seen get like a friendly whistle. And I'm not even talking about you have to give him a friendly whistle. Like, okay, fine. You want to keep it fair, or you have some gripe against LeBron or whatever, sure. But at least give a fair whistle, right? Like, he's not even getting a fair whistle, right? So it's just, I don't understand it. And then the whole Russell Westbrook, this is 2 games in a row that the Lakers got lost because of referees. Now, it's not entirely because of the referees. Like, look, if we're being honest, right? Like the Dallas game, you go down 19, you work your way in. Like, you should have never went down 19. They did make plays that were just bad. They could never really pull away, right? Like, missed shots. They just played terrible. LeBron didn't have a good game. Like, there were a lot of factors into it, right? It's not just one play here and there. It's not just, but still, it doesn't help when the referees aren't doing their job, right? Like, the Lakers, they did a poor job to start, but then eventually they did their job, got in the position to win. And I understand that referees don't want to be in a position to dictate a game. I understand that refs don't want to make that call. But if it's a blatant, clear foul, you have to make the call. And we get these 2-minute reports, and they're irrelevant. It means nothing. It's not like they go back and change the game, or, they make them play out those last 2 minutes or something. Nothing. It's like, oh, well, you lost. You should have won, but hey, you lost. And then last night in Philadelphia, Russell Westbrook. I mean, look at this picture. Like, I've had this picture up for so long because I want people to really take in. That's a foul. He has his entire hand wrapped around Russell Westbrook's wrist. Like, how? Like, where? There's no call. There's no nothing. Right? And again, I understand that refs do not want to be the deciding factor, but if there's a blatant, clear foul, if there is something that you see, you have to do your job to call it. This is 2 games in a row that the Lakers lost because of referees. And again, I understand that games just don't come down to one play. But when it's something that's that blatant, and it's 2 really good teams, battling it out, and they're, having this back and forth and stuff, right? Like, those marginal little moments are in many ways the difference between winning and losing, right? Like, when you have a team like Philadelphia that is a really good team, has really good players, is very likely a team that many believe could win a championship this year and are going to be in the conversation. They're going to be one of the better teams in the league. And you have them and the Lakers battling and going back and forth. This is a game of just small little variations. Right? Like, who gets the last stop? Who gets the last moment? And so when the refs don't call that foul, it changes a lot. The Lakers ended up, unfortunately, taking the loss because of it. The Dallas game, there were multiple foul calls. They had seven, and I love how the announcers in the Philly game even called it out and was like, they had 7 missed calls in the last 2 minutes. How many did they have the entire game? Which is true. If they only missed 7 calls in 2 minutes, there's no way. So you're telling me that those refs missed 7 calls in the final 2 minutes of the game that should have gotten the Lakers, and so you had the foul obviously on LeBron at the end of overtime, right, where he should have gotten 2 free throws. You had the Troy Brown where he jumped into. I understand the hand. Okay, but he literally ran him over. He jumped into his space. That should have been a foul, right? And then you have the winning Gabriel where he gets, it should have been an and one on Luka. Like, 2 fouls should have been on Luka, right? And he had 4, if I'm not mistaken, at that time. So Luka should have theoretically been fouled out of the game. It would have changed everything, is my point. And we're even seeing people come out and talk about it. So, like, you have this from Letting Go. This must be a much bigger story than it is. The NBA is basically doing is 2 days in a row altering their own definition of the rules, their own guidelines to tell the fans to believe them instead of our own eyes on game-deciding plays. How is this not a huge scandal? And it's spot on. Like, there's clear rule, there's clear definition of what is what, and it's like it changes play by play. And even LeBron James spoke out, which he's probably going to get fined for, but good, he should be speaking out. The NBA, like, teams need to start filing stuff, because you can file things against referees. Like, the Lakers, I believe in, like, I think it was like 2011 or something like that, they filed a thing against the refs saying, like, the refs aren't calling games fair. Like, there are procedures in place. And I really think the Lakers and several other teams, Dallas should do it, like, everybody should do it. Start putting pressure on the NBA, right? We need more stars. Like, stars are starting to speak out. We see like Trae Young, we see Tatum, we've seen guys say stuff, and they usually get in trouble for it. Again, every level of the NBA, if the janitor says something that is negative towards the refs, if players, owners, organizations, whatever, their marketing team, whatever, if anybody says anything negative about the owners or about the league or its referees, they get penalized. But the referees don't. Again, name me another profession. I can't think of one off the top of my head. Name me another profession where you can be terrible at your job night in and night out, make mistakes repeatedly night in and night out, and there is nothing, everyone just says, it's okay, don't worry about it, good job. Like, I don't know of one. If you did that in any other profession, you'd be fired, you'd be gone. And it's like, these guys go through extensive training, have to know the ins and outs. Like, it's not just you or me going on the court and now all of a sudden we're an NBA ref. These guys dedicate their entire lives to refereeing. Like, learning the ins and outs, knowing over and over again, like, like having to know what angle do I need to look at for this play or that play, and are there going to be errors here and there? Sure, of course. We're relying on human judgment. We're relying on the eye test, stuff like that, But I hope, like, we have technology nowadays. Like, you can do things, you can fix things. Like, have booth reviews. Have you have people looking at all the plays. Even the commentators are looking at all the plays. Have them go and just, mic them up and tell the ref, like, hey, you need to go and look at this and stop play action if you have to. If it's a crucial play, if it's something that is significant, right? Like, you should be able to go back and look, not just in the game. Like Troy Brown's call, that should have been reviewed, right? And then make the judgment. Don't just say, oh, no, sorry, we don't believe it's about. Like, go and look at it. And then on top of that, you have the referees that have to admit that they were wrong. And that's where the problem lies. You have clear fouls at the end of games that are deciding games. And you have these teams that are so good. All these teams are incredibly talented, right? So all of these games, like, even the bad teams can win on any given night, right? So you have games regularly that are going to be decided by a possession or two, right? That are going to be decided by a moment or two. And these referees, you're expecting them to it should be just non-biased. It should be somebody, like I said, a booth review. Somebody that has no say or no emotion, no nothing into the play, right? Like the LeBron James at the end of the game, when they didn't call the foul, somebody should have been reviewing that and saying, hey, you missed this foul. You need to go back and correct it. LeBron should be awarded 2 free throws. Do something like that. If you have it to where, if you miss calls throughout the game, like the last 2 minutes should be reviewed. Right now, and I understand they don't want to ruin the flow of the games and stuff, right? But if there's clear cut fouls, and I'm not talking about like the little tic-tac stuff. There's going to be tic-tac fouls here and there constantly. I'm not saying every single play, every single foul, but I'm talking about crucial fouls, crucial plays, crucial moments, right? Like, those need to be looked at harder, and those need to be evaluated to make a decision. Just like in the NFL, when you're watching a game, right, the last 2 minutes or whatever, everything gets booth reviewed, right? And then if there is a discrepancy or there is a missed call or there is something, then the refs get notification, they stop the play, and then they go and review it, or upstairs reviews it and relays to the referees, and then the referees say, hey, this happened, blah, 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 right? Do the same thing, especially in the last 2 minutes or whatever, because whenever something major happens, what ends up happening is the teams call timeout and stop the flow of the game. Like LeBron gets to the basket, gets fouled, 2 seconds left or whatever, the ball goes out, right? Like, there was a dead play after that. The play was dead after that. So go and review it while it's dead. Have somebody looking at it in real time saying, like, hey, that was a foul, you need to do that. Like, there are ways to correct it. There are ways to go and change and fix it. It's just, will they implement it? Or they need to start holding referees accountable. Because this is not good. This is not a good look for the NBA. This is not good for business. Right? People and fans and organizations, like, everyone is just burnt out. And it's not just, again, it's not just the Lakers. It's all the teams. It's just, this is a Lakers channel, so I'm highlighting the Lakers stuff because I'm a Laker fan and I care about the Lakers and fair refereeing. And LeBron gets no fairness. It's unbelievable, unbelievable. I don't think I've ever, maybe Shaq, but Shaq was just so big, so dominant. I mean, even referees said, I think it was on like Open Court or something like that. You had a ref, one of the refs was like, like when it came to Shaq, like we couldn't give him a fair whistle because he was fouled on every play, right? So it would have just been like Shaq shooting free throws the entire game. So we had to like kind of pick and choose. Okay, sure. Is that what they're doing with LeBron James? Because I mean, LeBron gets seriously fouled constantly. And I understand he's bigger, stronger, faster than everyone else. I get that. I understand that. But still, it doesn't mean you can't give him, I'm not even saying give him the superstar whistle. We've seen superstar whistles. Like Luka gets a superstar whistle. Harden, don't even give him Harden and Embiid. Like those two guys get fouled. If they don't make the basket, they get fouled every play. It's insane. You give those guys, I'm not even saying, just give a fair whistle to Russ and LeBron James. They're attacking the basket, they're getting to the hoop, and they're getting clobbered. And it's just, they're not even getting a fair whistle. It's unbelievable. And again, the league needs to do something. This has been an absolute mess, an absolute disaster. I'm glad LeBron spoke out on it. I hope he keeps speaking out on it. Keep finding me. LeBron can afford it, and he needs to speak up. He needs to do something. Like the Lakers need to file something. And every team should, because the refs are just terrible, terrible. And something needs to be corrected. Something needs to be done to change this and fix this. But anyway, those are my thoughts and opinions. And as always, I pass the question on to you. Let me know yours down in the comment section below. What do you think of the referees? Do you think that this is an absolute mess? It's a disaster? Do you think no, it's it's been fair across the board? I don't really know how you could think that, but it's been really hit or miss with the refs, and it's something needs to be done in my opinion. But again, I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions. What did you think of the no call on Russ? What did you think of the no calls, multiple no calls in the Lakers Dallas game? All of that stuff. I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions. Let me know down in the comment section below.